I'm Lady Gaga, and I'm a performer from downtown New York.
I'm living in LA now, but I'm from New York City, and I moved to work. Where's the stick? Can I have that? Hello. And Gina's from DC, and now we're traveling the world.
What is it that inspires you to, like, when you sit down and write a song, what makes you say, here's going to be my next hit song, when you pull that pen and paper out?
Well, it takes a lot of time. You know, I actually liken songwriting to being an infant, you know, growing up. When you're a baby, you burp and you cry, and you have no control over the sounds that you make. It's just like completely visceral and organic. And then at some point you realize that you're burping and you're crying, and you figure out how to make it better. You learn how to be a young person. Kind of like songwriting. It's like you make a lot of crap, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're making bad music, and you learn how to make good music. But the important thing is, don't make good music in your room that nobody hears. You've got to put it out there. You've got to play shows every week. You got to play it for your friends. Sit with your mom and dad and say, hey, check out what I wrote. You know, you got to put the art in the room, because it's the people that makes the work come alive.
Gotcha. So basically start out by burping a lot and then work my way up.
Do a lot of burping.
Perfect.
And then stop.
And then burp some more, next thing I'll have a hit record.
Well, you know, now it's like, what's exciting for me is that I feel like I've come to a certain place as a songwriter where I know when it's a hit record. Like, that's a hit record. And then other times I'm like, oh, that's not it.
I'm a very nostalgic person.
Yeah?
I have a tremendous interest in storytelling and in creating things. But when I was younger, like this painting,
Yeah?
I was in behind a chain link fence in a very small, enclosed school and environment. And I guess you could say that when I left my school and I moved out, I was prying away at my own fence to find the world in a new way. This is what Rilke says. Rainer Maria Rilke, Letters to a Young Poet. I read the book because I was always asking people, what do you think of my music? Do you like my voice? Do you think I'm good at what I do? Do you like my clothes that I'm making? Do you like the way that it all comes together? And I was always looking outside for other people's assurance. Well, Rilke says that you should not ask people for advice about your work. You should look into yourself and ask yourself if it's any good.
In downtown New York, and really in New York everywhere, really in the world, you have the ability to self-proclaim your own fame. You have the ability to experience and feel a certain amount of self-worth that comes from a very vain place by simply like your choices, your opinions about fashion, your opinions about music, your opinions about politics, the way that you walk down the street, the way that you carry yourself at parties. I mean, you can literally choose to have fame. And that's what this whole album is about. And I really, honestly do not care a tiny bit what people think about it, because I'm not posturing that it's good or that it's bad. I'm struggling with the idea, and it's affected my life in the most positive way. I mean, if anyone said, who is Lady Gaga, I would be okay with, she is the most impressive con artist of fame. I mean, I literally trick people every day into believing that I'm somebody, and I'm not. Like, I'm sitting here with you outside the Frank Lloyd Wright building, and you know, 2 years ago, I was sitting in New York with like nowhere to go and just kind of like figuring it out, but saying to myself, I'm gonna be great and I'm gonna do something important. And I will find the fame. Like, I will create it for myself, and I feel like I have. But that's what makes me know that that's the message, and what I'm trying to do is more, I want to inspire people with my journey. It's not about being a role model as a person as much as it's being a role model for the process and being committed.
What do you want the fame to do?
I wanted to do that. I want people to find a sense of inner confidence and fame for themselves that has nothing to do with being famous. We're not famous, but we feel the fame. It's the nerve. All you gotta have is nerve. That's the one thing that keeps me up at night. I say to myself, who the hell am I to do what I do? Why do I deserve this? Who am I to do this? And then I remember that I'm talented. And then I remember that I'm actually very good at what I do. I'm extremely educated, but that's not something that I'm not like one to like be defensive about my work. It is what it is. You either love it or you don't. Most people like it. I remember I was in the studio with Rob Fusari, and I performed a song for him that's on the record actually called Again Again. And he said, "You're so Gaga." And I said, "You mean Radio Gaga, like the Queen record?" And he goes, "Yeah, like Freddie Mercury." And I think it was because I was, going crazy. He said, "That's the most interesting part of you, that girl right there." And then I just took a vow to always be that honest. Really, when I started being myself, I mean, I've always been an artist, but when I started to be just who I really am, which is a provocative exhibitionist, somebody that does things for attention pretty shamelessly, that's when I was like, okay, so just be who you are, and then that's your artistry.
If you weren't in show business, what do you think you'd be doing?
I would be dead. I guess even though my first album was called The Fame, that was never the ultimate goal of any of this. It was always that I just really am genuinely a musician to my core. And a lot of people don't know that about me, but I write every lyric, every melody. I'm in there with the producers, whipping them to make the new future of music. And that is why I'm here. I'm not here to be a superstar. When I was living downtown alone, I was able to more confidently look into myself and ask that question, must I write, must I create music? And I answered, I must. And if you must create music, what is it that you have to say? Why make it at all? So I resigned myself to make the kind of music that I wanted to listen to. Not what I thought anyone wanted to hear, or what would perhaps be the most credible or notable. I just created what I wanted to listen to, what I thought was great, what I thought could be groundbreaking where I was living, which was an area where indie music was much more popular and pop music was considered to be annoying or corporate or unimportant. I really do feel, to an almost nauseating degree in the press, that I really focus on my art, and I say that a lot, my art, my work, the technology, the house, my creativity. And people say, there's Lady Gaga again, yucking about her art. It's hard to say why you believe in things. It's religious, really. It's faith. It's something so much greater than a color or a human being, even. It's your soul and your passion. So I'm just very passionate about music and what I do. And it didn't matter when anybody told me no, because whether or not I've got a record deal or a #1 album doesn't make me an artist or not. What makes you an artist is your ideas and your convictions. Well, my first album, I didn't do a commercial release on it. It was more just like records that I put together on my own, and it was really short. I, demoed everything and produced it all myself. Yeah. I wasn't signed to a label. It was just stuff I was doing in New York, and that's the kind of girl that I am. I never waited for somebody to hand me something on a silver platter. I was like, I want to make a record. Okay, I'll save up my money and I'll buy a 4-track tape recorder and I'll do it myself. Or I'll, sneak into the studio over at NYU and use their private recording studio to get stuff done. I mean, I used to just hustle and grind and do whatever I had to do. I'd go danced for a couple of years just to get my records played by DJs in the club. I write music. I design clothing. I live and breathe my art, and honestly, it's interesting because I think that when people say, how did you do it, it's like you have to. It's like survival for yourself. I would not be able to breathe if I couldn't make art. I just wouldn't. I would not be. Look at me. This is me on a normal day.
It's a beautiful
I wake up like this. This is I wake up in the morning and I make my hair bow and I put my cat suit on and I call up everybody in the House of Gaga and I say, how are we going to be brilliant today?
Where were you the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio?
I was in Canada. And I'll never forget it, because it seems as though when Just Dance hit #1, it was this big, massive, oh, she became a star overnight. But to tell you the truth, I had been working so hard, doing 3 shows a night, all day long, going to radio stations. I remember I heard it, and I started crying, and my tour manager, David, said, how does it feel? And I said, it's about damn time!
I think that sometimes artists early in their careers, they have, a couple big records, and then they get excited and they buy houses and they go on vacation and they, they start dating movie stars, and then it's like, oh, where did my music go?
Yeah, they start focusing on things.
You focus on the wrong thing, and then they're wondering why their records aren't on top anymore, and it's because you're not thinking about it. You have to visualize things. I visualized Just Dance forever. Nobody wanted to play that song.
It's sort of like a mantra. It's kind of, you repeat it to yourself every day. Music is my life. Music is my life. The fame is inside of me. I'm going to make a #1 record and with #1 hits, and it's not yet. It's a lie. You're saying a lie over and over and over again, and then one day, the lie is true.
Kurt Vonnegut once said that humans have been telling fantastic stories from the beginning of time, and that the drama found in such stories is something we constantly try to emulate in our own lives. With your music and aesthetic, are you another fantastic storyteller, or are you showing us what real life can be?
Both. I'm telling you a lie in a vicious effort that you will repeat my lie over and over until it becomes true.
So I would say anybody that's on this show that's upset because their stuff's not getting played on the radio, you need to sit down with yourself and look yourself in the eye in the mirror, and you need to say, is this my destiny? Am I really supposed to be doing this? And if you are, you're going to sit in that mirror and you're going to figure out, how am I going to get my song played on the radio? And you're going to look deep in that mirror and go right into the corner in the iris of your eye, and there's going to be an answer, and it's going to happen.